Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob Pickle, and on behalf of Carahsoft, I'd like to welcome you today to our webinar featuring experts from Tanium and Microsoft. If you'd like to ask a question throughout today's session, please use the Q&A pod on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. If we're going to be unable to get to your question, our team will follow up with you offline. This webinar is being recorded today, and a link will be sent out in a follow-up email, so you can either view it again or share with your colleagues. A little bit about Carahsoft. We're a trusted government IT solutions provider, delivering software and support solutions to federal, state, local, and education customers. Carahsoft maintains dedicated teams to support sales and marketing for all of our vendors. Our contact information will be at the end of the presentation, so don't hesitate to call or email us with any follow-up questions you may have. Tanium and Microsoft are some of the best partners to help secure federal, state, local, and education customers, and we're really excited to welcome them today to present the Tanium and Microsoft solution for Zero Trust and how it can help customers. Now I'd like to turn it over to Rob Dow, the Vice President of Federal at Tanium, to get us started. Rob, over to you.
Thanks, Rob. First of all, thank you for hosting us today. I'm thrilled to be here, and I think that my two compadres are equally as thrilled again. Again, my name is Rob. I'd like to echo what Rob said earlier about what we're going to talk today. Although we're going to be focused on DoD and the greater federal, Zero Trust is a strong focus across our industry, whether it's state, local, education, or commercial. So I think it's going to have a little bit of everything for everyone. But before we jump into it, you can't have a presentation without defining objectives, right? So let's go through those really quick. We're going to summarize requirements and challenges to implementing Zero Trust at scale. That's really super important because government is scale. It's a test of scale. So we'll do that. We're going to demonstrate. So we're actually going to do a demo of some of the key integrations that we've developed in concert with our partners at Microsoft that enables performant conditional access in highly complex, highly large, and highly distributed environments. And then finally, we're going to provide an outline of an implementation of Zero Trust with Tanium and Microsoft. So let's jump into the fireside. Let me first start by making a couple of introductions. Vishal Amin is the General Manager of Security Solutions at Microsoft Federal, and Matt Marsden is the Vice President of Public Sector Technical Account Management at Tanium. Vishal, Matt, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Awesome. So first question, Vishal, I'm going to jump to you first.
Sure.
Federal government has been a target of not only nation state actors, but crime and any other organized or unorganized malpractitioners of cyber attacks. What type of threats are we seeing today, and how have they evolved in recent years? Evolved, I should say.
I think outside of like malware, APTs, DDoS, things of that nature, we see look, we see the critical infrastructure attacks, the power plants, the water treatment facilities. We see things around OT. These are things, physical damage and destruction, I think, and personal attacks, even attacks that are specifically against the warfighter and their physical identities, right? Not just their digital pieces. These are attacks that we're seeing evolve and get more sophisticated over time. I think one of the biggest things that I want to call out, though, in that question is this is no different than what everyone else is seeing around the world. And the truth of it is our defense organizations, agencies, individuals are some of the most attacked individuals on the planet, right? And when we speak about nation states and actually them pursuing the identities and the individuals within the defense organization, it's more than just looking at the data. They're really targeting these individuals at the personal level, and these are everyone from nation state actors all the way through terrorist organizations as they're building out cyber facilities, organizations, and hiring into those organizations as well. The big thing to also note, though, is that the Department of Defense has taken some great steps forward in protecting its networks, its data, most recently implementation of a Zero Trust architecture, that's going to make available a broad range of tool sets that really increase the adaptability of defense, and then actually the userability and the readiness. And there's all types of things moving forward. So I'm going to pause there, but I mean, if I was to bubble it down, Rob, into a couple points, is number one, things haven't changed. They're just, the attacks are coming from very diverse sectors of the world. The defense industry is one of the highest and most targeted and continues to be. And we're seeing these attacks and APTs and DDoS attacks evolve into more personal attacks into the industry and into the warfighter.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, with the ability for the adversary to go asymmetric in these attacks, the temptation to use cyber or non-kinetic options in the attack vector is too great, and that's why I think zero trust is such a. I think that's why the future has zero trust in it.
Let me add one thing in there real quick, though, Robin. I'm sorry to might have taken you off track there.
No, I'm good.
But we talk about the attack around the digital estate and protecting our networks, protecting our infrastructure. One of the things that I applaud the DoD and the defense organizations now is they're starting to connect the digital attacks, the data-driven attacks, to the kinetic, the actual kinetic physical aspects of warfare, right? And that's a strong word. That kinetic word, warfare, is a strong word. So being able to connect, these nation state actors to how they're going after us and the defense industry into how we are actually progressing in a kinetic war is something that I applaud the DoD of. They're making that connection, right? The work in our, a great example is the war in Ukraine, right? And how the kinetic side of the house, where we have digital estate and the physical estate, are kind of melding there. And it's the first place we're seeing that globally. So just wanted to make a point there and saying that I think we're seeing a lot of progression and evolvement around our industry because we're making that connection at the government level.
No, right on. Absolutely. Okay, so Matt, DoD's released the Zero Trust strategy and roadmap November of last year. So to orient us, everybody in the call here and the webinar, what is Zero Trust and why has it been placed in such a high priority for the federal government and businesses and state local agencies, as far as I'm concerned?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. It's a good question. And it's interesting because zero trust means something slightly different to every person that you speak with. And organizations are largely approaching zero trust from different aspects, depending on where they are in their journey. Collectively, we see everybody moving towards some sort of zero trust implementation, whether it's a formal migration under the DoD guidance, or if they're doing it in private sector because it's the right thing to do. Zero trust is hard. It's difficult to implement in a complex IT environment. And today, we're seeing a significant amount of success across the Department of Defense and the federal government in implementing these zero trust practices and taking the approach at the highest level. So we'll quickly assume that zero trust is all about an approach that has no trusted users or device in a secure perimeter. So it really changes the traditional idea of having a secure perimeter that's defended heavily and then having trusted networks. Zero trust assumes that no devices or personas inside the network are trusted in any way. So every device, every entity, every persona is now evaluated for multi-attribute based levels of confidence. So those evaluations take place in real time, and they require authentication and authorization at the time of access. So it really is a very different approach to what historically has been the network defense concept. Zero trust also takes a least privilege approach. So it requires segmentation of users and endpoints, and the scope of access is limited to only those applications and data that are required at the time and nothing more. So as I mentioned, this contrasts with historical perimeter-based security, and it totally turns it on its head. So the user in previous practices, the sort of castle and moat approach, as it's often referred to, once a user was authenticated and made it inside the perimeter, they had almost unrestricted access to resources within the IT environment. It was just assumed that they could be trusted. Those trusted perimeters created a pretty broad attack surface. And once an actor gained access and a breach occurred, it allowed for that operator to move laterally to cause destruction and access resources they really shouldn't have had. So zero trust means that you just assume compromise. So from the get-go, you assume that an access request may be coming from a compromised user or persona, or most commonly from a compromised device. So most attacks, we see a legitimate user that is accessing a network using a compromised or non-configuration compliant device. So with a zero trust approach, you validate users using multi-factor authentication, you assess risk across a variety of parameters, and at every access request, you check the device again for vulnerabilities and configuration compliance, and then you overall measure risk before you grant access to that device and that user. The DoD zero trust strategy has a lot of elements. It's a complicated and complex document and strategy that's being implemented. But from a technology perspective, users, devices, and personas are really the foundational concepts.
So let me see here. Enhanced conditional access, least privilege at the time of access at scale. I can't wait to see this integration demo that we're going to give in a few minutes here. So this is going to come. I want both of you to answer this. So Vishal, we'll start with you. So at scale, it's probably the answer. But why is achieving zero trust so challenging right now, particularly within our federal government and larger organizations?
I want to steer away. I'd like to steer away from the word challenging a little bit more. So we're leaning into it. Zero trust isn't a new concept, and that's exactly what it is. It's it's a journey, and it applies to organizations outside the federal government as well. We look at our large defense industrial base organizations. We look at our customers in retail. We look at our customers in enterprise. These are large, complex environments that also work with the federal government, right? That means putting in place a solid zero trust strategy that outweighs the consequences that we can't even predict right now. I think one of the biggest pieces of this that Rob or Matt, you mentioned, verify explicitly, right? And to build on that, conditional access. I mean, when a user and device authentication is done correctly, right? I mean, it allows us to protect those applications and that data. That's the cornerstone of all of our DoD, zero trust strategies. How do we protect that data? How do we protect the applications? And those are across all 7 pillars, right? That we're going to be speaking through today. I mean, making those tight conditional access policies to block users and devices with vulnerabilities is key to that. It's hard to do, but at Microsoft, we're able to lean in on that with Azure Active Directory. I mean, it makes it, I don't want to say easy. Easy is the wrong word, but by investing in Azure Active Directory, by investing in these integrations, it gives us the ability to protect our customers where they are and where they're operating. Another common attribute to zero trust that we're seeing a lot of right now, and we did a webinar earlier this week as well at Microsoft, is the zero trust story around the data, right? The focus has always been the data, and that's really what we're trying to protect. So utilizing inaccurate, stale data can really make all of this a lot more complicated than it has to be, right? So to be able to build those conditional access conditions off of those inaccurate, stale data points is really not where we want to be, and that's where a lot of our integration between Tanium and our Azure Active Directory piece really can come to light, right? And it can be really powerful. I think that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the fact that you talked about the sort of cross-industry applicability of a zero trust approach. It's, we talk with the DoD, we talk specifically about enabling the warfighter and better protecting and defending our Department of Defense networks. But in large part, those same cyber criminals are out there attacking healthcare and going after PII and HIPAA data. They're going after large financial institutions and user and investment data. They're looking to fund what is ultimately military activity at the end of the day. So I think your point can't be overstated, that this is really an approach that should be adopted by everybody across the board in industry, not just a Department of Defense approach. But to get back to specifically what the zero trust implementation is, if a user makes an access request to use an application or data, and Azure Active Directory is working off latent data or data that's weeks or days old, which is very common in large environments, the machine they're using may be non-compliant at the time. So there may be an unpatched vulnerability on the device, or something may have changed with that device between the last time it was measured or assessed and the time that that access decision is being made. And that's really when zero trust breaks down. So being able to use real-time data for conditional access decisions is essential for any zero trust strategy. You have to work off of the real state of the device and the user in order to make informed decisions. Another significant challenge to implementing a zero trust strategy or taking a zero trust approach is managing the potential impacts of those conditional access policies on productivity. The last thing that any security team wants to do is significantly reduce the ability of the workforce to get done the work that they need to get done. So anything that results in blocked access or reduced productivity is certainly a challenge to the organization and overall effectiveness. So if you think about it, let's say you put in place a policy that blocks access to a device with a missing patch. You know, if there's a critical patch that you require to be on the device, and 20% of your organization may be missing that patch. That means that 20% of your organization is suddenly not able to join the network or access the resources that they need to do their job. That puts the security team in a pretty bad position. And sometimes it can take days or weeks to patch that vulnerability, and you have significant impacts to the workforce. So if you're not using the right tools, it can be a challenge for security and operations to meld together in a truly efficient organization. The thing that's really exciting about the way that Tanium and Microsoft work together and integrate today for this problem is that we give you the tools to both proactively and reactively fix the problem. So you can now put in place strong conditional access policies without any productivity impact. So I think we're going to take a look at that in the demo in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Matt. So this next one is for you, Vishal. So for a lot of us on the call today, not me, but the people on the call, hearing about the Microsoft Tanium partnership is novel. It's something they just heard about because we said it. For those people, can you describe how Tanium and Microsoft are partnering today?
At the end of the day, our goals are similar, if not the same. It's to protect the national security and critical infrastructure of this country and the Department of Defense. And those objectives remain sound, right? The Tanium's real-time visibility and real-time actionability at scale with our Microsoft existing services within those 7 pillars are exactly where we're let me take that back, where we are partnering and where we continue to build and partner where our customers are asking for us to do so, right? We've released a few product integrations to date, one of which I'm super excited about, which is our Sentinel product integration. And then I believe the second one is our Azure Active Directory integration between Tanium, which I think we'll be focusing on today. It's also going to be a game changer, as you mentioned earlier, Matt, in terms of bringing this to scale. We're just trying to make it easier for our platforms and our people to work together in one place. And at the end of the day, that's it. We understand that the Department of Defense isn't, and all of our customers within the Department of Defense, this isn't going to be a single platform, single solution, solutioning session for the next few years. They're going to have to utilize the investments they've currently made, the investments they've had. And, one of the things that I'll share from the Microsoft perspective of where we're partnering together is we're looking at our defense customers and saying, instead of us sharing our zero trust story with you, where are you in your journey? Where do you need us to build our story together? And that's where we're focusing on the partnership. One of the first places that we saw was bringing all of that data and all that telemetry into Sentinel. And, I just mentioned that's one of the first places we partnered. Outside of that, I think that's how we are actually trying to mitigate a lot of the barriers that we're being asked to work with the defense industry on is where they're being held up.
Yeah, I hate to pick on you again, Vishal, but you intrigued my curiosity. Can you double tap on that Microsoft Sentinel Tanium integration and value delivering?
Happy to. I mean, if I was to get excited about one thing today, it's that release of the Tanium integration and the connector into Sentinel. I mean, being able to empower your SecOps teams, and we were speaking before the call, right, Rob, of security folks in the industry, it's not about a product. It's not just about a service. It's about making things a little easier for all of the, trillions of signals. At Microsoft, we see 65 trillion signals a day, I think is our latest number. And to be able to bring all those signals into one place through a cloud native SIEM SOAR, and then being able to have Tanium partner with us to build and bring their telemetry into that, to have one place to see that, right? I don't use the word single pane of glass as much anymore, right? But having a consolidated place to put all of that, to be able to work with all of that telemetry and data, to actionably hunt on it, and then to be able to deploy playbooks and runbooks that we have here that are fairly simple to implement, right? And have the Tanium team part of that journey, that's huge for us. And then being able to go to a SOC analyst and say, hey, this is what we've built for you to be able to go do your job, to go defend against nation state actors, utilizing Sentinel as the cornerstone or as the octopus head behind it. That's really what we want to do, just to drive that automated remediation in all aspects of our tools and services, and utilizing Tanium to do that with Sentinel, with those customizable playbooks is huge. That gives us the ability to move faster. That's easier investigation. That's bringing all of our threat intelligence to one place, right? And at the end of the day, it's bringing two solutions that the customers asked us to do. In many cases, I believe some of the customers actually on the call today that I've personally spoken to in the last couple of weeks of, hey, Vishal, these are the investments we have with Tanium. These are the investments we have with you. How do we bring these together? And to bring those two solutions together at cloud scale, and then being able to empower them to do their roles to defend the warfighters, that's what we get excited about. So, I mean, I went off on a little tangent because I get excited about Sentinel and I get excited about that integration. But, we love that. And outside of the traditional means where Tanium and Microsoft were in siloed worlds, right, over the years, and we're saying, hey, we do this, it allows us to go to the customer and say, hey, both of you do great work here. Can you do great work together? And I think this is, Sentinel is a great place where we've shown that. And we're making rounds to all the customers through our executive briefing centers, through our teams, to tell that joint story of where they'd like us to partner together. And that's something that is happening currently. And I believe it's going to be happening across our teams over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I'm equally thrilled and excited as well, especially on the Sentinel aspect that you just talked about, Vishal. So Matt, anything to add? How we're partnering, driving value to our customers? Maybe can you give us some highlights about Tanium and Azure AD integration before we move into the next section in depth?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'll echo Vishal's comments about our aligned goals. Microsoft and Tanium both seek to enable our federal and other customers, state and local, as well as commercial customers, to achieve their cyber readiness objectives, right? It's all about supporting the operator to defend their networks and keep us all safe at the end of the day. And we do that better than anybody else on the planet. So together, we offer a really robust and comprehensive solution that is an easy point of entry for our joint customers. And building on Vishal's comments about the Sentinel integration, I'm a security guy at heart, so I'm also as excited as he is about this one. We give customers the ability to use our real-time data and actionability in a single pane of glass. I know we're walking away from that comment, Vishal. I tend to use control plane, the single control plane these days. But the Sentinel interface is a really robust, agile interface for operators to be in. So the fact that we can support that interface with our real-time data and actionability has been a game changer for our customers, really. And with the Azure Active Directory stuff, as you're going to see in the demo, there's 3 real key points. And very simply, we give customers the ability to use accurate and real-time data at scale. So across millions of endpoints, they can make strong conditional access policies that prevent access to unauthorized users, unauthorized devices. We allow you to do this without significant productivity impacts, which is key to this being successful at scale. And then ultimately, it's because those productivity impacts come because the device is blocked unnecessarily or improperly or based on stale data. That's a problem. And then we also give you the ability to dramatically enhance your cyber hygiene across the board so that you prevent unwarranted denied access events in the first place. So we effectively and quickly block devices that should be blocked, and we allow you to not block devices that shouldn't be. And then finally, Tanium gives organizations the ability to group and tag endpoints quickly. So this means you can easily implement least privilege access and minimize the number of endpoints that get to have access given the applications in the first place. So it's a really robust integration, and I'm excited about what we're going to see in the future.
Awesome.
Hey, Matt,
Awesome.
we also, one of the things I didn't mention when on that last question was, as we look to partner better with you, one of the things that we'd love to hear, especially from the folks that are listening today, is how do we partner better together where we're at right now, but also in the tactical environments, right? When we look at where the warfighter is operating, it's not just, in aisle 4, aisle 5, it's in our tactical environments, and we really want to continue to build with you there. So, these partnerships don't just exist where they are today, but I think one of the things that I can definitely share with the Tanium team is that's where we're looking at building in the future. Where do we partner in those areas where we're going to be focused on the next horizon, the horizon after? So I just want to plug that, because I know we didn't mention tactical environments at all today, at fault to me, but wanted to make sure we mentioned it here.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're deployed all the way out to the edge, so we need to keep all aspects of the enterprise defended and properly secured. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
And thanks to everyone. Thanks to all our speakers for being with us this morning. It was a great session. Thank you to all who participated, who joined us. We hope everything you learned in the last hour was really valuable. Thank you for your time. If you have any further questions, if you'd like more info, please contact us, and we're here to support you. Thank you all.